Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Creepy Time. My name is Mia, and I'm brand new to YouTube still, uploading my second video. Thought I'd give a little introduction about what I talk about. My channel is basically going over, things that are creepy. Might be paranormal, medical anomalies, conspiracy theories, all kinds of fun stuff. Today I have Crash with me. This is my best friend, so he is going to be co-starring on today's video. Today we are going to be talking about something along the paranormal lines, and this is a home that has been reportedly haunted by the name of the Riddle House. Now, there's a lot going on in this story. I have a little cheat sheet of notes that I'm going to be referencing just so I can make sure I include everything. I wanted to give a little disclaimer that this video is going to be talking about paranormal experiences, and if you are sensitive to that, if that is triggering for you, then I'll ask that you kindly skip this video and not watch it, and also that none of the research or information that I am talking about is my own. I have researched on Google and done a bunch of searches, and these are the following kind of websites that I have looked at as Travelchannel.com, Wikipedia, Ancestry.com. It was called thelineup.com, Theoccultmuseum, I believe that's a .org, and then Palmbeachcountyonline.org. That's a government website. So let's just get into it. The Riddle House is located in West Palm Beach, Florida, and it was built in the early 1900s. So it is located at exactly 327 Acacia Street, downtown in West Palm Beach, Florida. So it was built actually in 1905, and it was built by a company. It was a construction company, and the head of the construction company was a man by the name of Henry Flagers. And the home was kind of unique in and of itself because it was built using reclaimed wood. See, Henry, like I said, was in a construction company, and so he, rather than purchasing all new material for this home, he used the leftover scraps from the hotels that he used to build, because that was kind of like his trade, was building hotels. So because of all of the leftover wood, the house was multicolored. I don't want to say rainbow because it wasn't, that vibrant, and there wasn't like a repeating pattern, but it was just unique. It had like a whole bunch of different colors, and the townsfolk affectionately coined it as the Painted Lady. Now, this home was built in a Victorian style, as were the times. So it was a very handsome house, very beautiful, and it had a catch. So the home was actually built so that the overseers of a cemetery could keep watch over the cemetery. So they built it relatively close. The cemetery was named Woodlawn Cemetery, and it actually was like a 3-in-1. There were 3 different cemeteries that encompassed Woodlawn, and they had like Woodlawn maybe south, okay, and then they had a Jewish cemetery, and they also had Woodlawn North. So all 3 of those in one, and they had a tiny little house built next to it so that they could keep watch, because back then it was super popular for people to grave rob. I mean, personal opinion here, I think that's pretty disgusting that you would disrespect somebody like that, but that's besides the point. So the overseers could keep a watch over the cemetery and make sure that nobody was doing anything mischievous, right? So the home was re-nicknamed the Gatekeeper's Cottage. So the house was functioning, everything was great with it. Now, enter player 1. There was a man by the name of Carl Ridley. And I did a bunch of research on Carl because I wanted to know it's just interesting to me. I wanted to know his background. I wanted to know where he came from. I wanted as much information on him as I could possibly find. So in my searches, I found that he was born in 1891. And I don't know how many siblings he might have had, but the most notable was his brother, Kenyon. Carl and Kenyon were twins, obviously both born in 1891, and they lived in and around the West Palm Beach, Florida area. So, during his growth as a human, didn't really know what he wanted to do with his life, and from what I found, he started out maybe as a construction worker, okay? He was doing road work. And why I bring this up is I found an interesting correlation between the story to come about this house and experiences that he had growing up. So while he was working as, I don't know, a construction worker or a road worker, Carl dug up an effigy. He dug up an effigy of Native American ancestry or origin, a Native American origin. Now, I'm sure at the time when he was doing his work and he dug it up, he didn't really know what it was, or maybe he did, but so he kept it, is what I'm trying to say. So he kept this effigy that he found. Now, I'm not necessarily sure, again, if he knew that it was an effigy or not, but it's a little wooden statue, and it was later known to be carved out of cypress and was created by the Calusa tribe of Native Americans. That is what they, based on where it was found and the type of craftsmanship, that is what they, scientists and archaeologists, determined was the most likely origin of this little effigy, was from the Calusa tribe. And I found this information on Palmbeachcountyonline. Again, it's either .com or .org, and I just want to kind of briefly read what they had said about it. Basically, the unique wet environment of the Everglades created oxygen-free soil that preserved the effigy, because you might have been wondering, well, if it was stuck in the dirt, if he dug it up, how is it preserved? That is what they have determined. So again, Carl Riddle found it, and it was carved from cypress, and he found it while working on the road near Pahokee, and that was on the east side of Lake Okeechobee. And he says, or they go on to say, that this was one of a few effigies found, and it is believed to represent a shaman, leader, or ancestor. So this effigy was carved in representation of, again, either a shaman, a leader, or an ancestor. The Calusa were expert woodworkers, and after how the county came to possession of it was after Carl Riddle passed, was when his family decided to donate it. And that is when, of course, they did all their research on it and discovered where it came from and its origins. Now, something to note is that Palm Beach is on Jayaga land, and please forgive my pronunciation of these Native American words. As hard as I try, I know I'm not going to get it correct. So Palm Beach is in Jayaga land, and Calusa land, and both Calusa land and Jayaga land meet. If you look at a map, the two territories meet at Lake Okeechobee. So here's another piece of interesting information. Now, remember when I said that Carl had a twin brother, Kenyon? Later on in their lives, at about 1935, they partnered together and they built a city called Cloud Lake. And Cloud Lake was named after, again, forgive my pronunciation, oh my goodness gracious, I am so sorry, I mean no disrespect, Yahaluchi, which means the cloud, and it was named after a chief of the Seminole Indians who was chief during the Second Seminole War. So, that being said, they built homes on this land and all kinds of development was going on, and they built up this city. Now, if I remember correctly from the website, I don't think that any Native Americans inhabited that city right away. That came later after there was peace in that area. But regardless, they developed on it. So, just as a recap, Carl Riddle dug up an effigy of a shaman, a chief, a leader, or what was it? Or an ancestor, excuse me, and he kept it. So he kept an effigy. So now let's backtrack to the house, okay? As Carl Riddle developed himself as a person and grew older, he furthered his career, and he was no longer like a construction worker. He became an engineer, and he also became the city manager of West Palm Beach, Florida. So he was kind of a big shot, okay? He had a lot of pull and a lot of sway. So kind of in, I don't want to say honor, but he got a house, okay? Him and his family got the gatekeeper's house on condition that, yes, you are city manager, we are grateful for you, you can have this house, it's great, it's beautiful, but you got to keep watch over the cemetery. So Carl turned around and said, okay, sure, I'll keep watch over the cemetery, no big deal. Him and his family move in and they go about their lives. They do their things. Carl, being city manager though, I mean, he's also an engineer too from his past, so I don't think he got rid of any previous career. So he's got a lot on his plate, and he needs to hire help because he's not around enough to keep watch over the cemetery. Plus, he wants to sleep at night, right? So he hires a groundskeeper, and his name is Buck. So Buck continues working for him. He starts working for him. Everything's great. Everything's, dandy. And suddenly, Buck gets in a heated argument or altercation with another person of the city. He goes into town getting his groceries. I don't know if he went out for the night. Who's to say? So he goes out and he gets in this heated altercation with another member of the same city or town that he lives in. Well, he dies during that altercation. He just died. And this put Carl in a bad spot because he doesn't have help anymore. So after Buck's death, Carl decides to cool it a little bit. And during that time, it is said that he notices some freaky stuff happening. He hears noises in the house. He hears, kind of rattling or chains rattling on the staircase. He sees things out of the corner of his eye. His family is disturbed as well, and they're witnessing the same things that he is. And this disturbs him, naturally so. Also, there's a graveyard about 3 miles up the road he's supposed to be watching, right? So life goes on, and Carl hires more help. So Carl hires a man by the name of, forgive me, I believe it is, yes, Joseph. So Joseph starts working for Carl as a groundskeeper again, just like Buck was. And during his time of employment, I don't know what happened, but he fell on really, really hard times. He fell on really hard financial times, and he couldn't get out of it. No matter how hard he tried, it was like things were piling up on each other, and he felt like he was failing, and he felt like he couldn't take it anymore. So he went inside the house, got rope, went up to the attic, and hung himself from the rafters. So Joseph passed away in the house, and once he was discovered and everything was cared for, they actually took the beam, the rafter, out of the home. It was cut out of the attic space and was removed from the house. So, which, as a side note, this is my personal opinion and interjection, Mr. Moneybank's Carl Riddle couldn't help out his employee. I mean, granted, I know not everything in life is free, but come on. The guy works for you. He's a trusted employee, and you can't spot him some cash. I mean, okay, so that aside, back to the story. So Joseph passes away, and things really take off from there. I mean, the pot has been stirred, okay? The pot has been stirred. Things go haywire. His family and the other workers, because Joseph and Buck weren't the only workers, but they were the most notable, clearly. So, like I said, the pot has been stirred, and the other workers are noticing things, they're seeing things, they're hearing things, they're getting scared, and they don't want to come into work. They're being terrorized, basically, by an apparition or apparitions, and nothing can or has been done about it. People quit left, right, and center. They don't want to stay and work in a place that's haunted. So Carl has a really, really hard time keeping help. Nobody wants to work there. So from then on, things don't get any better, and it is said that the suicide in the home is what is thought to be the real catalyst of everything that happened. So after a certain point in time, Riddle and his family can't take it anymore. I'm going to call him Riddle. Riddle and his family can't take it anymore, and they move. I don't know where they move to, but they move out, okay? They're just like, we're done. I can't handle this. It's too much. It's destroying our family. So they take up and they pack up all their belongings and they move. Well, the Riddle House, it has a hard time keeping people in it. Really hard time. And so businesses come and go. Again, nobody wants to stay. At one point in time, there was a college. Let me see what the name. Palm Beach Atlantic College. So it was a pretty notable college in the area at the time. It might still be, but at the time it was pretty prominent, and they were trying to expand. So they bought the house and they used it as a girls' dormitory. That didn't last long. It really did not last long. So after that, the house was just in a state of disrepair. It was falling apart. It was degrading. It was a very sad looking home. A once beautiful painted lady, Victorian or Edwardian home, was now sitting in a state of disrepair, and nobody wanted to fix it. Nobody wanted to live in it. So after Carl and his brother Kenyon, remember the twins, had mentioned that they built a city, Cloud Lake. after they had built that set of homes, things just kind of settled down for Carl, and him and his wife had children, and they continued on their lives. Well, naturally, Carl passed away. He passed away somewhere around either 80 or 1985. Nobody knew what to do with the home. It was still his property. He never sold it. Nobody wanted it. So nobody really knew what to do with it, and they were going to demolish it, just level it. And rather than do that, Carl's nephew by the name of John petitioned the city to donate the house to him, because see, John was also somebody of importance. There is a village called Yesteryear Village, and it's not an inhabited village. What it is a place to display artifacts. So Carl petitioned the county and said, if you donate the house to me, I won't profit off of it, but rather than have the home be destroyed, why don't you donate it to me and I'll display it in Yesteryear Village. So they did that, and it was great. They agreed upon it, and the not demolition, the dismantling of the house started, because remember, it was in West Palm Beach, and it had to be moved. The whole home had to be physically moved over to Yesteryear Village. So John hired a bunch of people to dismantle this home, and what they did was they took the roof and the attic and they split it in two, and they took the second floor up off of the top floor, and they moved the entire home, and it was put back together in Yesteryear Village. However, you know that this house is not going to go easy after everything that happened inside of it, after all the experiences that people have had. This house isn't going to be going anywhere anytime soon, not easily anyway. So during the dismantling process, John, once again, same as Carl, had a really hard time keeping help. The construction workers that were working on this house would, see things, they would hear things, they would have their tools fly off of wherever, the upper level of wherever they were working. So like the attic, let's say they were dismantling the attic, their tools would fly off of the attic space and come tumbling onto the ground. I mean, that's dangerous for them standing underneath it. What if one of the tools fell on them? They would find their tools in the morning too, just sprawled everywhere. And eventually, they actually took a 6-month hiatus from dismantling the house because the energy and the activity was so profound. They took a 6-month break from this home so that things could hopefully quieten down and John could find new help to get rid of, to dismantle the house. Once he finally secured a crew, it was finally accomplished. And I believe, yes, it was finally accomplished in 1955 was when it found its final home in Yesteryear Village. And that is where it remains. There are tours going on of the house because there are other, English is hard. There are other artifacts to be seen in Yesteryear Village. It's not just the house. It's a place that he displays multiple things. It's actually pretty cool if you guys want to Google it and check it out. But that's where the house remains. And there's tours, and there are lots of, informative. Come on, Mia. There are lots of informative websites and articles and different things to look at to, gain a better understanding of what went on there. But can you imagine how terrifying it must have been for like the people in between? Granted, Carl had tons of money. He was super successful, and he could have moved or done what. But the people that were working for him were like legitimately stuck there and experiencing everything that they did. So my theory, this is, now here's the disclaimer, okay? My theory is, this is based on no like identified factual research, that, remember how I said he dug up that artifact and he held onto it until he passed? It wasn't until Carl passed that his family was going through his things and found this statue and donated it to a historical society. He held on to it that entire time, and part of me wonders what's the possibility that energy and a spirit was attached to that statue, and the fact that he held on to it may have started something. Not to mention, okay, this artifact, remember I said it was found near Lake Okeechobee? Well, that is in Jayaga land. That is where the artifact was found. And when Carl moved into the Riddle House, he brought that artifact back onto Calusa land, which, that is who created this effigy, was the Calusa tribe. So part of me wonders if, something was disturbed by, first of all, unearthing it, holding on to it, and then moving it back into its original land. Who knows what that effigy was created for? If it was like a peace offering, if it was, purchased, if it was, given to somebody for protection, who knows? And for me, in my own mind, in my own opinion, it's a little disrespectful to hold on to something that's not yours like that, to dig it up. And granted, he was working, so digging it up was unintentional, but to hold on to it when it doesn't belong to you. So that's my own personal theory. And I mean no disrespect. It's just that the Native American culture, from what I understand, are very spiritual people, and they put a lot of love and energy into the things that they make, and especially when it's tied. Now, this is regardless of someone's culture. When there's an item that has been crafted in image or in respect of somebody, like they said, an elder, like a shaman, a leader, or an ancestor, I find it's disrespectful, and it's like you're the spirit of what you are putting into it, the energy of what you're putting into it, it stays with the item. It really does, and that is regardless of any culture. You have a sentimental, it's an heirloom. So it's just, that's why I think that it might have something to do with it. They put their heart and their soul and their beliefs and their love into the items that they create, and to disrespectfully unearth it and then move it and keep it, it just makes me wonder. So that is the story of the Riddle House. Continues to stand to this day, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave any comments you want down below, and I am also going to, link in the description the websites that I visited to gain my information from. And if you guys, again, have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, and I will do my best to get back to them. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you guys have a great night.